everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new, my name's Liz. For today's video, I have some Dollar Tree DIYs that I think you guys are gonna love. I shopped recently, found some brand new things that I've never seen before, and I decided that I really wanted to use them. So, some brand new things from Dollar Tree in today's video. I hope that you guys love these DIYs because I sure did. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into today's video. For this DIY, you are going to grab an embroidery hoop. You could also grab the bamboo hoops from the Dollar Tree, but I wanted something a little bit bigger, so that is why I chose this one. You're also going to get this edge supply off of Amazon. I will link that in my description box below, but I'm just going to start by measuring off 5 pieces going one way on the embroidery hoop. We're going to kind of make like a faux tobacco basket, that crisscross kind of pattern. So I'm just measuring the embroidery hoop where I want each of my pieces to go. In total, you are going to do 10 different pieces because you're going to have, some going vertical, some going horizontal. You are going to need 2 of the middle piece and then 4 of all of the other pieces that you cut. Once all of your pieces are cut out, I'm going to take this Waverly Wax and Antique, and I'm just going to use this as a stain. I'm going to stain my embroidery hoop in this color, as well as all of those pieces that we cut off from the edge supply. Now, once that is all good and dry, I'm going to use some gel super glue that I got from the Dollar Tree to assemble this all together. I tried hot glue. It did not work because the wax did not allow it to stick together. So gel super glue all the way worked perfectly. I just lined up my middle piece first and super glued that down, and then I worked my way out from there. So I'm just going to mark where the excess edge supply needs to be cut so that everything is nice and flush around the circle. And I would start by gluing one side down and then going to the other side, cutting off the excess, edge supply that's hanging over, and then glue that down as well. And then you can also, if you want to glue everything down first and then just take your scissors and trim around it afterwards, that works really great too. I did that as well. Sometimes your glue pops off, so you have to glue it back down afterwards, but that only happened to me a couple of times, so it wasn't too big of a deal. And then I tried to evenly space these as much as I possibly could without actually using a measuring tape. I just kind of eyeballed it as best as I could, and I did this for the whole bottom row, so you're going to have a total of 5 pieces glued down going vertically with your embroidery screw at the top. Next, you are going to take your other middle piece and you're going to go up over that first piece and then down and then over and down all the way across. Get that centered as best as you can and glued down with the gel super glue on each end. Now, when that is done, you are going to take your second piece and you're going to go the opposite. You're going to go down first and then up and then down and then up. And you're just going to do that opposite pattern so that you don't have both of the same pieces going up over right next to each other. And then you just want to try to evenly space those out as much as you can. Glue it down with your super glue, cut off any of the excess hangover, and repeat those steps for the other 2 pieces on the other side. So like I said, you're going to have 10 total pieces of your edge supply crisscrossing on your now faux tobacco basket. I grabbed one of these 6-inch circles in a pack from Hobby Lobby that actually comes out to less than $1.25 a piece, but if you want to just stick to the Dollar Tree, I do know that they have some pieces in a similar size out right now. They just have some words glued to them. You could always take off those words or just flip around to the back side and use that. I'm just giving this one good coat of my Waverly chalk paint in plaster. And then I found these really cute farmhouse stencils at the Dollar Tree. I found a bunch of them and they look so adorable. I grabbed this one that says Farmer's Market, and I'm going to use some washi tape to hold my stencil down to my round. And I'm going to take this Dixie Belle chalk paint in Farmhouse Green, and with a brush, I'm just going to dab my brush in the paint and then dab off any excess and then do up and down motions on the stencil. You don't want to do back and forth, that's going to cause bleeding. So light layers and up and down bouncing motions with your paintbrush is perfect. Or you can also use a sponge if you want to do that. Dip your sponge in the paint, dab off as much of that paint as possible, and then lightly dab up and down with your sponge. Same technique you'll use with the paintbrush. And then I just remove my stencil, and I think it turned out so adorable. I just glued that right to the middle of my tobacco basket. And then I'm going to take this greenery that I found at Michael's. I cut a total of 4 pieces off, and I made 2 of the pieces shorter than the first 2. So these first 2 longer pieces, I'm just taking some hot glue and hot gluing this right to the top middle. And then I'll layer it with the other 2 shorter pieces. I just kind of wrapped the ends together and then hot glued that right at the top as well. So you kind of have a nice layering greenery situation going on. And then I took some lace ribbon from the Dollar Tree, tied that into a simple shoelace bow just by taking 2 loops and tying those together. And then I'm also going to make a bow with some twine by wrapping that around 2 of my fingers, my thumb and my index finger, about 4 or 5 times, and then taking an excess piece of twine, wrapping that around the middle, tying it in a double knot, and you have a really cute twine bow. And then I'm just going to layer those 2 bows on top of each other. I'll hot glue the lace bow down first, and then the twine bow will go right on top. And that is it for this DIY. I think this turned out so cute, and I think it's so much fun to use this edge supply in DIYs. It's coming super handy for frames and now this, and you could always use popsicle sticks if you don't have this, but this was super easy to cut and manipulate, so that is why I chose to use the edge supply. A special thanks to Belle for sponsoring today's video. If you're new to Belle collagen and fiber supplements, they're made with fiber and collagen to improve your skin from the inside. Fiber detoxifies your system to help prevent breakouts and improves the way your body absorbs nutrients that support your skin, hair, and nails. I always have had a really hard time with my hair growing and being healthy. My nails have always been super brittle, so I've been taking Belle supplements for the last 30 days and have noticed a huge difference in the health of my skin, hair, and nails. My nails have been much stronger, not breaking as easily, and I've noticed my hair growing much faster than it has in the past, which my hair always grows super slow, as well as it's not breaking as easily as it did before. Fiber also helps you stay fuller longer, so you're not craving the unhealthy snacks or things that wreak havoc on your skin. Belle Beauty is an organic, all-natural, keto, paleo-friendly, and gluten-free fiber supplement. It's made with organic psyllium husk, bovine collagen, hyaluronic acid, and real fruit, which tastes great. Also contains non-GMO ingredients and 0 sugar. I like to either mix it with water in the morning or I'll blend it into my morning smoothies, and I'll do this twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. The watermelon flavor tastes super great, especially mixed in with my smoothies in the morning. You can use code LMORE20 and get 20% off of your first order on Bellway's site. If your hair and skin and nails are anything like mine and need a boost of collagen, I'd highly recommend Bellway Fiber and Collagen. All links will be in my description box for you guys to grab your own Bellway products. So a huge thank you again to Bellway for sponsoring this portion of today's video. Let's go ahead and get back into our next DIY. For this DIY, I'm going to take one of these fresh carrot cutting boards from the Dollar Tree that was around the Easter season. If you were lucky enough to grab one of these, this is a perfect DIY. You're going to remove all of those tacks from the edges, and then you're going to grab this Welcome Home scrapbook paper pack from my website, moredecalanddecor.com. I opened this up and flipped through the pages to see which one I thought was going to look best. I thought this floral one at first, and then I found this one with all the greenery and the buckets inside it and just thought it was really cute. So I grabbed this one out, and I'm going to use a measuring tape to measure that middle sign on the cutting board, because that's the part that I'm going to cover up. I still want the background of that cutting board. So I just measured it with my measuring tape and did that on my paper, measured out how big I'm going to need it, marked it all up, and then cut it out. Now I'm just going to use a good old glue stick to attach my paper to my sign. You could use Mod Podge if you want. I just prefer a glue stick. I just think it's faster. It doesn't make my paper wrinkly. I haven't mastered the art of Mod Podge quite yet, so I just stick with a glue stick. So I'm just going to put that on there, and then I went through with some sandpaper around all the edges, mostly because I wanted those edges to be a little bit more distressed. There was a little bit of overhang that I wanted to get off, so just using that sandpaper around all the edges to get that off. Now I found this galvanized piece at the Dollar Tree that says home in a little wreath, and I thought this was adorable, so I just cut that twine off from the top, and with some black Waverly chalk paint, I'm going to take it on a sponge and just up and down dabbing the paint on there so that I can paint the entire thing black. And then with some super glue, I'm just going to run that over this entire wreath piece. You could use hot glue, but hot glue on the galvanized metal makes it dry really quick, and it's not always the best in my experience. So the super glue just worked great, and I just tried to center that as best as I could over that middle portion of the sign. Now I'm going to take some of this greenery from Michael's. I cut 2 little pieces off, and then I'm going to take some lace ribbon from the Dollar Tree, tie it in a simple shoelace bow. Once I have the length of the loops that I want, I'm just going to cut that off. Hot glue my greenery down to cover up that hole in the top of that metal wreath, so it looks, nice and seamless. And then I'm going to hot glue the bow right on top where those 2 ends of the greenery meet. And then to give it a hanger, I just took some nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, cut a piece off, looped it through the hole, and just tied the ends together in one big knot. And then I felt like it was still missing a little something, so I decided to take some other tacks that I had. I got these from Hobby Lobby, and I liked that these were more of a copper color, so I felt like they stood out a bit more. I took some wire cutters, and I ended up just cutting the nail portion of the tacks off, and then the remaining of the nail portion I was able to just stick through on each corner of this sign, and that was good enough to keep those in place. But that's it for this DIY. This was so much fun to make. Probably less than $3 total in materials to make this DIY, and I think it turned out adorable. For this DIY, you're going to grab one of these square chalkboard signs that the Dollar Tree is carrying. I'm going to take my Waverly Wax and Antique, and I'm going to use that to give the frame a nice stained look. You're going to use this just like you would any stain. Apply your wax, take a paper towel, rub off the excess, and you're just going to do that for all of the wood portion of the frame. Next, I'm going to take some scrapbook paper. This is the Farmer's Market 12 by 12 paper pack, again from my website, and I thought this one was really fun, and I wanted this to be very farmhouse because of what I'm pairing with it. So I found this cute pattern with some galvanized buckets and toolboxes and flower pots. And again, I'm just going to measure out the middle portion of my frame, and then I just took those measurements to the paper and cut that paper out. And then I'm going to use a glue stick to adhere my paper down to the middle portion of my sign. I found these rub-on transfers at the Dollar Tree. Farmhouse rub-on transfers. I was so excited when I found these. So I knew I wanted to use that farmhouse portion. I cut that piece off from the rest of it because I wanted that rectangle as a pattern for a thicker cardstock piece of paper. I really wanted the farmhouse words to stand out, and just putting this directly onto my scrapbook paper, I knew it was kind of blend in a little bit. So I used that rectangle as a template, cut that piece out. Again, this is a thicker piece of cardstock printer paper. You could use just regular printer paper, but I feel like you would probably get the scrapbook paper pattern kind of peeking through a little bit. So that's why I went with a little bit more of a thicker piece. And then I took that piece of white paper and I'm going to do ripped edges around all four sides. So it gives it more of a rustic and distressed look. And I just made sure to measure that it would fit in the frame perfectly. So it wasn't too short or wasn't too long. And I would just rip until I had it the perfect size. And then I'm going to take some Waverly Wax and Antique, and on a little brush, I just went around all of the edges, and I wanted it to kind of have that antiqued, rustic, almost a burnt edge on all four sides. And I would just apply this to the side and then take my finger and run over it, kind of make it blend in a little bit more, kind of make it a little bit more faded around the edges. And I just did that for all four sides. Now I'm going to apply my rub-on transfer to the paper, and I just centered it as best as I could. And then I took a popsicle stick and went over the entire thing, just rubbing over all the words and those little greenery pieces. As I was pulling up the plastic cover sheet, if anything was pulling up that wasn't supposed to, I just laid it back down and went back over it with that popsicle stick. But that is how you are going to get your rub-on transfer to stick to your paper. And then I just applied some glue with a glue stick on the back of the paper and then set it in the very middle of the sign. And that is all you have to do for this DIY. I think this turned out really cute, and I think it would look really fun on a shelf. If you had a taller tier tray, you could put it on there as well. But I thought this one was really fun to add to your farmhouse decor. For this DIY, I'm going to grab one of these houses that has come out with the new beach theme at the Dollar Tree. I just took a flathead screwdriver and popped off the roof part from the very top. It does have kind of like little nails inside of it. So I just took some pliers and took those nails out. And then I wanted the back to not have that sticker on it, the sparkly glittery sticker. So I just took all of the paper off from the front. So I'm just going to remove that sticker from the back, and I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint and plaster, and I gave this 2 good coats of that color. Now I'm going to take another one of these stencils that I found at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use the It's Good to Be Home. I'm going to lay this down on my house, use some washi tape to keep it in place, and then I am going to cover up that heart with some washi tape because I don't want to stencil in the heart. I'm going to use something else for the O in home. So once I have all my washi tape down, I'm going to take some Waverly chalk paint and ink on a sponge, and I'm just going to dab up and down over the entire thing. Like I said, make sure that you're not coating your sponge in paint and you're dabbing off as much excess as you can, and then you're going over it. You just want to do light layers. And then you're just going to remove your stencil, and I took some more gel super glue from the Dollar Tree, added that to the top of my roof so that I could reapply the little roof that came with the house originally. And then I'm going to take this cute little laser cut pack that I got from Hobby Lobby. It was $3.99, but it also was on sale, and you get a bunch of cute little cutouts. This was for their spring collection, and I found this little flower in there. I'm going to take some Arteza paint pens. This one I believe is in the color Bumblebee, and I'm just going to color the entire thing with this paint pen. I like these for little pieces like this because then you're not making a big paint mess absolutely everywhere, and it's really easy to get the paint onto the flower, like I said, without making a big mess. So I just use that on my flower, and then I'm just going to use some gel super glue and attach it to the house as the O in the word home. I'm going to take some scrapbook paper from this 6x6 sunflower market pack from my website. You can get this bee pattern also as a single sheet on my website if you don't want to get the entire paper pack. But I like these little bees, and I thought that this was perfect with the sunflower. They go together. So I'm just going to cut that out, and I just put a little portion on the bottom half of my house. It was just looking a little too plain, so I added that scrapbook paper. And then I also found this yellow trim at Hobby Lobby. I cut that down and adhered the ends to the back of the house with some hot glue. And then I'm also going to take some twine, wrap it 2 times around that yellow trim, tie it in a knot in the back to keep that in place, and tie a little twine bow, taking it in 2 loops and tying it together like you would your shoelace. I just made this really small, so I just pulled on those ends until the loops were as small as I wanted them to be. I hot glued that to the middle of the twine, cut those tails down, and that is it for this DIY. And that is it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Just a quick reminder, I just launched my sunflower and plant tier tray kits on my website last week. If you want to check them out, I will link it in the description box. And next week, I will have 2 other tier tray kits on my website for you guys to grab, craft, put together, paint the way that you like them, all the fun things. So anyways, I will link those in my description box below if you want to check them out. But other than that, I think that's all I got for you guys today. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know which project was your favorite in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.